It was looking bleak for the Union in their first road match of 2024 until a magical moment in the game's final minutes. We go over the club's 1-1 draw with Sporting Kansas City on Saturday and look ahead to their next tilt, hosting a Western Conference contender. Union Insider starts right now.
Takes the strike on, and it's off the inside of the post. Up for the Argentine. Oh, brilliant! This is Martinez. Fires. Go!
Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Marisa Pilla, and as always, I'm joined by Sebastian Latou and Sheanon Williams. So, the Union went out on the road for the first time in this season, left with a draw. What were our thoughts about Kansas City?
I think it was an important game to get some points. It happened at the last minute of the game, but I think it's a positive thing for the Union. Still undefeated, not win yet, 2 ties, but I think it was important to get a good result in Kansas City with a tough place to play at.
For me, it was just important that they found a way to dig out a point. I think at the beginning of the season, when you're not up to match speed, that it's important to start to crawl and scratch it and get through some of these games. We know that they're in some other competitions, which makes the team a little bit different, especially in this last game. So I thought they did a really good job of not giving up on a game and trying to get something out of it, and they ended up getting something at the end.
Yeah, points by any means possible, and the Union were only a few days removed from a CONCACAF Champions Cup match that went over 120 minutes when they traveled out to Kansas City this past weekend. Picking up road points, as we said, in Kansas City is no easy feat, so here's how a heavily rotated Union side got 1 point from Children's Mercy Park.
The 2024 campaign has already been off to a feverish start. The club got past Deportivo Saprissa on aggregate Tuesday night. Just 4 days later, we'll see how Jim Curtin's club seesaws back to league play against a Western Conference foe playing in its home opener. From Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas, the Philadelphia Union visits Sporting Kansas City for the only time in the regular season.
Okay, guys, look. First test on the road this year, okay? We need to have a killer instinct and a killer mentality when we go on the road, right? Everybody knows what it takes. We have to be willing to suffer together, all right? We control how hard we are willing to work today. Every guy is ready to help, right? If somebody makes a mistake, we have good body language, we get on with the game. There's no better feeling than making a stadium go quiet and go silent, right? But it's going to take effort. Every guy that starts needs to empty the tank. Every guy on the bench is ready to help to do anything for the 3 points.
Stick together, keep us safe. Everyone goes for as long as they can. Make sure you get stuck in. If you do take a yellow card early, to show them that we're here. Do it. Go. Hey, focus. Composure on the ball, yeah? Hey, we have to leave here with the result. 1 point or 3, nothing less, yeah? Come on, 3. 1, 2, 3, go!
To Jake Davis. It falls to Voltaire, and Voltaire tucks it inside the post. C'est magnifique! Voltaire! Sporting Kansas City strike within the first 20 minutes. The field. Sullivan jumping in for it. Almost an own goal off of Sporting Kansas City with Bedoya crashing in. Oh, watch out. Chopped down by Damian Lowe. This is going to be a second booking for the Philadelphia Union. Bedoya fakes the cross, left-footed effort, and rolls into the arms of Tim Milios, the Gazdag. He takes it on the half volley and just wide of the target. Runner on the back stick. And by Sullivan, he finds Anderson, and Anderson had a header. Russell with the shot. Big save in front of his hips. There by Seba. Nice job by Seba, making a couple of saves in the second half to deny Russell. Hugging the Union down 1-0, two-step approach, and it's pelted forward. Inside the area, punched up by Milios. Second ball, it's in! Who else? It's the captain to the rescue! Alejandro Bedoya is his name, and he's back in the 92nd. There's the full-time whistle. That will do it from Kansas City. Alejandro Bedoya, the hero. Yeah! 1 point, baby.
Seba, Sheanon, not only was this group heavily rotated, it was extremely young because the front three of Chris Donovan, Jeremy Raffanello, and Quinn Sullivan have an average age of 21 years old. Where did you see the youth be a positive thing on Saturday night?
I mean, I think first it was very surprising for all of us to see all those changes, but I think it's because of the fact they play 120 minutes in a Champions game during the week. But I think what surprised me the most and I enjoyed the most from the youth is like just the energy they came into the field. Maybe sometimes not always at their best how they spend it, but you can see that they were really making a big effort defensively to keep the block, all together in the first half. You see a lot of run from Raffanello in the number 10 who really help a lot the midfield with Martinez, because you see Kansas City with like their three, especially Tommy and Walter, making a lot of runs. Raffanello, I think, did a very good job defensively. We didn't see as much offensively, but it's always hard, when you play away. It was important to keep the game at 1-0 for a long time, and he, helped the team come back at the last second. So I think all the energy those young guys they play maybe with confidence, but at the same time I think they wanted to do well. They wanted to prove to Jim Curtin that they have their place in a starting 11, and they did a good job during this first half to keep the score to 1-0, even if we didn't see a lot offensively. But like I said, it's always a tough place to play in Kansas City.
And for me, this is something that we called for at the beginning of the season, having the squad be rotated and using some of those younger players. It was good to see that they got their chance early on in the season, and that's going to add to their experience. It's a tough place to play in a hostile environment on the road, and I think they did a good job of making sure that they brought, like Seba talked about, that energy into the game and tried to keep things going even though it wasn't their full-strength squad. So after 120 minutes, being able to go to some of those younger guys and still be able to get a point on the road, I thought was big, and I thought they did a great job filling in for some of those regular starters.
Sheanon, it's time now to get to our key play of the week, and I think we all know what it's going to be. Spoiler, it's Alejandro Bedoya's equalizer at the death. That's going to be broken down by none other than Sebastian Letou, because obviously he's not right here. He's over at the big board. Seba, this was Bedoya's first regular season goal since September of 2022. How did this happen?
Yes, and what a goal. What an important goal on the last play of the game. We saw a great delivery from Kai Wagner on a corner, a good challenge from Michael Ura, who tried to challenge Emilia in a goal, who I have to say didn't do a very good job, but thank you for the Union. And of course, you can see right here, Alejandro Bedoya, as soon as you all know, we all love to have a little flick from him usually. You see the team playing a lot. He turned around, right on his left foot. Fantastic finish. I talked with him a little bit after the game. I said, hey, congratulations on a beautiful goal with your left foot, since it's not his strongest. And he told me that he had a chance right before on his left foot. And if you remember, he came inside at a shot, but he was not very good. And he was like, yeah, on this one, it was a pretty good finish. So it was a great finish for the Union to get 1 point on the road. But we all know how important it is. You see how those guys believe until the end of the game. All the players were inside the box, and at the end, it's Alejandro Bedoya, the captain, who finished with his left foot and give a point to the team.
We've got more Union Insider for you in a bit, but first, here's your Union trivia question presented by United Concordia. The Union's first ever game was on March 25th, 2010 in Seattle. But who did the Union host in their first ever home match in Chester later that season? Find out the answer later in the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Marisa Pilla with Sebastian Letou and Sheanon Williams. The Union had many bright spots during their 2023 season, but one in particular was an addition that proved to be a crucial one. We're talking about Damian Lowe, who proved to be a big part of the team's success last year. Sage Hurley is back in the studio this week for more as we give you another edition of Union Roundup presented by Green Mountain Energy. Sage?
I'm Sage Hurley here for this week's edition of Union Roundup. While the team was down in Clearwater, Florida for preseason, I sat down with defender Damian Lowe to recap his first year in Philly and his exciting goals for the season ahead, on and off the pitch. Damian Lowe, just over 1 year since you signed in Philadelphia. How has it been for you so far?
It's been good. I mean, it started a little bit bumpy, unexpected. And then after talking with Jim and seeing a lot of familiar faces, I was welcomed and got settled pretty well, and then I just kept elevating from there, and it's been a good year.
So you came in top form to preseason, so obviously in the offseason there was a lot of training, but that's not the only thing you were doing. Back in Jamaica, you were really giving back to your community. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started the Monarch Foundation around 4 years ago. This year, That was the third time we really kick-started with making it more organized and official and giving back and making sure like kids, basically I try to be the Santa Claus, you know, of my community because they're not privileged enough to get gifts and stuff like that. So I try to be the Santa Claus, you know, just for even the day, and it put a lot of smiles on everyone's face, and it just tried to inspire the next generation that, hey, you know, I came from the same community, I made it out, you know, there's a possibility for them to do so too. So I'm just trying to pave that way for them.
What was it like to see their faces interacting with you?
Brings a lot of joy because I was once in their shoe, and maybe we didn't grow up a certain way. I was there, I've experienced it, you know, and I've seen a lot of people give back also, but for me to grow up and be able to do this for them, it brings so much joy and happiness to me.
Is there anything you want to add to that Monarch Foundation in the future?
Yeah, I'm just trying to go more like, now I'm community based, but I've gotten a lot of DMs of people all over Jamaica asking for scholarships and stuff like that. So
wow.
Now I'm gonna try to branch off and at least try to do maybe 2 or 3 of them throughout the year. Soccer competitions, like try to get like school supplies and stuff for everyone, not only just my community, so it can probably grow. You know, the sky's the limit. You never know. I can probably do it globally. You know, partner with other companies like UNICEF and other charity foundations for sure.
Personally, you have some exciting partnerships in the off season, like with Beats. I know you're really into fashion, so is that exciting for you?
Yeah, it's exciting times. I think for me, the more I grew up, and especially when I was in Miami, I tried to maximize my earning capabilities off the field, and I think, you know, I'm a nice looking guy. I think I can pull some stuff off in the fashion world, so I tried to branch off in those stuff and just try to, there's life after football, you know, so I tried to network, tried to reach out to brands and market myself, and it has been good so far. You know, did some stuff with Beats, you know, we have Kappa coming up. That's where we're gonna do a big launch in the summer because they're coming over to the US now, and I'm like the first soccer player to sign with them in years, so that's a big thing, and like many more stuff to come. So yeah.
All right, back to on the field. What are your big goals for the season?
To be honest, my personal goal, I wanna challenge for the Defender of the Year. Okay. That's a big aspiration of mine. I'm in good spirits, I'm playing well, so I just have to carry that into the season. And also team-wise, I think we can go all the way with MLS Cup. We deserve it. We've been knocking on the door for years. Philadelphia has always been a club that I've admired since I was a kid. You know, my history with, you know, Reading United and Jim, and, you know, the child being kidnapped story from the MLS draft, you know. So yeah, I think it will be so good for me to contribute to the team winning an MLS Cup. We know we deserve it, we know we're so close, but we just have to continue to grind it out, continue to believe, continue to get better, continue to challenge and be the best that we can be on the pitch.
Can't wait to see it. Thanks, Damien.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Union Roundup. Don't forget to tune in next week for your inside scoop on all things Union.
Thanks so much, Sage. It's time to move on from the past and go into the future, in particular our match on Saturday against the Seattle Sounders, as we give you the keys to the game presented by Subaru. So Seba, what is your key for the Union's first win of the season?
So for me, I think the game against Seattle might be a bit different than the one against Chicago. I think Seattle is more a possession team, so it might fit, you know, right into Jim Curtin's game plan to leave the ball to Brian Schmetzer's team, having them, you know, try to build up, and we all know that they love to push, you know, their fullback with New and Roldan, who love to attack, and they give a lot of space, you know, behind them. So if we can be good in counter attacks, I think we can really hurt the Seattle team, who as of now, you know, didn't win a game yet. They lost the first game in LFC. They tied at home against Austin, so they are kind of in a hurry to get some results. So they are going to attack, they are going to play hard. It's a tough team as well, very well organized. But if we do a good job in counter-attack against them and we wait for the right moment, I think it will be some space for whoever play in front. We don't know, maybe Jim Curtin might make another change, but I think we can use the speed to kind of hurt the Seattle defense.
Yeah, play a little smarter, not harder, especially considering all the games under their belt so far this season. Sheanon, for you?
My key to the game is going to be, can the Union do a better job of building out of the back? I think in the first 2 games, they've been a little bit sloppy at times building out of the back. It's led to some bad things happening on the transition for other teams to come and attack us. So teams drop off and sit back a little bit when they come into Subaru Park. So can the Union do a little bit better building out of the back, using their 2 center backs as well as their outside backs to look to connect from front to back?
We've got more Union Insider coming up after this. We're going to take a look at a Seattle player that the Union really need to key in on. More after this. Time now for our Chick-fil-A Nugget of the Week. At 36 years, 10 months, and 3 days old, Alejandro Bedoya became the oldest player to score a goal in Union history with his dramatic equalizer on Saturday night. He passed Ilsinho, who scored his last goal with the Union at 34 years, 11 months, and 26 days. Ooh, that's a lot of math to count, so I'm not going to give you my age in days and weeks as well. But welcome back to Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross. And last week, I stood right here and told you how important it was for the Union to contain Alan Pulido in Kansas City. And this week is no different for Philly, just with a different player. As the Union welcomes Seattle to town, Philly has its eyes set on limiting the production of 22-year-old Pedro de la Vega, who is this week's player profile presented by Subaru. De la Vega was signed as a young designated player just a couple months ago on January 24th. He comes over from Argentina's top division, where he scored 17 goals and added 14 assists in 127 appearances. He made his club debut back in Argentina at just 17 years old. So De La Vega is definitely a really talented player. We've seen what he can do so far in a short season, but also there's not a lot of scouting footage of him. How do you prepare for a player like that?
I mean, you know he's talented. You all know that he's a number 10 coming from Argentina. We all know like the technique, ability all those players have. But the thing for him, he just played 2 games. He came on against LAFC late in the game, score a PK, and then play around 60 minutes against Austin. So maybe physically he's not totally ready. He's not totally used to the pace of this league. Now he's going to have like the longest trip, from Seattle to coming to Philadelphia. And I think it takes time, for a player to kind of fit into the rhythm, into the league, play with different teammates as well for him. So hopefully he's not on top of his game and he's not going to have the best game against the Union on Saturday.
What can the Union show him defensively that might be a little different than what we've seen so far?
Like Seba talked about, it's going to be an adjustment period for the player, especially coming over from Argentina, coming into a new league. So the Union just need to do a good job of limiting his touches, making sure that they don't let him get started and get into the game. If they can be close to him and in touching distance anytime he gets the ball, making him give up the ball a lot sooner than he's really wanting to, then I think they can try and take him out of this game and try to take some of that creativity away from Seattle.
Stylistically, who from the Union matches up well to kind of be his shadow on Saturday night?
I mean, he has to be, for me, one of the center midfielder. He probably can be, Martinez, it could be Bueno, it could be maybe Bedoya, it could be, Sullivan, whoever play in his zone. Maybe it's Jack Elliott, Glesnes, Lowe, depending on the way they play. Probably they play with a number 9 and him, being underneath. So you can see in his stats, from last season, he got a lot of goals and a lot of assists. So he can do everything. He's not just a number 10 who just loves to pass the ball and make assists. He can score as well. So they need to be careful about his run from deep and make sure, there's always, good communication between the center backs and the center midfield.
We've done plenty of talking about the Union so far in this one, so let's take a look at the rest of MLS in this week's Around the League presented by Torque. It was 70 degrees and sunny for the Union when they went to Kansas City this weekend, but the same can't be said for LAFC as they traveled to Utah to take on Real Salt Lake in a snowstorm. Yes, they played with the orange ball and it went into LAFC's net 3 times as RSL went on to dominate the reigning Western Conference champs 3-0. Remember when the last time these two Florida teams met in Leagues Cup? It was a challenging 3-1 win for Inter Miami. This time, however, it was a lot different. Orlando City SC had no answer for Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez, who each had a brace en route to a 5-0 victory. When Union Insider returns, Seba and Sheanon will give us their players to watch for Saturday's match as the Union hosts the Seattle Sounders. We'll be right back after this. Here's the answer to this week's Union trivia question presented by United Concordia. The team that the Union hosted in their first ever game in Chester was the Seattle Sounders. The latter of the two was better for the Union, a 3-1 win on June 27th, 2010. I think I know somebody who was at that. Do you remember that game?
I did play, yeah.
Are you making the trivia questions?
I mean, all the time. I think
Yeah.
I got it right. I just want to say.
I know you did. You get them all right when they include you. So now, welcome back to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. We're trying to wrap things up on the show, which means it's time for our all-state players to watch. Somebody that these two guys will be looking for from the Union to make an impact against Seattle.
Yes, and I'm going to go, we talk about the talented Argentinian player of Seattle, but I'm going to go with our talented Argentinian player of the Union, which is Carranza. He was injured against Kansas City. He probably will play maybe on Tuesday against Pachuca, but I think he could be the one putting the ball in the back of the net and finishing those counter-attack I was talking about to the Union. He's been very good in the Champions Cup, didn't score yet in MLS, so I'm looking forward to see him maybe score his first goal against Seattle.
And for me, my player to watch is going to be Jack Elliott. I think the Union have started slowly, especially giving up some weak goals, and I look for them to solidify that back line. Jack Elliott stepping in on Saturday after his red card in Champions Cup, I think we'll get things right and we'll start to see some more consistency out of our back line.
So shocking, Seba chooses a forward and Sheanon chooses a defender. That's going to do it for this week. The Union are back at home to host Seattle Sounders, which airs 7:30 p.m. on Apple TV. But if you love the sound of Seba's voice, you can tune in on the radio alongside Jonathan Yardley, WWDB 860 AM. For Sheanon and Seba, I'm Marisa. We'll see you next week.